so many weddings and funerals.
That's right.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, 23rd edition, November 23rd edition of the Board of Selectmen, Highway Commissioners, and Cemetery Commissioners meeting. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's your disclosure, Mr. Chairman. It doesn't appear on
This
your-
needs to be read?
Just the part that says disclosure.
Okay. The disclosure for public meetings pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20, and the governor's executive orders imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. Although a quorum of the members of the Dudley Board of Selectmen will be physically present for this meeting, no in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. The meeting will be live broadcast on Dudley Cable Access Television, Channel 192, and members of the public can also access the rebroadcast of the meeting online on YouTube. In the event of an unanticipated interruption in this broadcast, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Members of the public who wish to appear before the Board of Selectmen must make an appointment to appear on an upcoming agenda by contacting Michelle Jervis at selectmen@dudleyma.gov or by calling Michelle at 508-949-8001. Placement on the agenda is not guaranteed, however, and persons requesting to appear before the Board of Selectmen should not attend a meeting in person unless and until the appointment has been confirmed by the Board of Selectmen. Persons with matters appearing on a meeting agenda may request that they attend by virtual means, such as by conference call, rather than in-person attendance. Such a request should be directed to Michelle Jervis at selectmen@dudleyma.gov or by calling Michelle at 508-949-8001 no more than 3 business days in advance so that appropriate arrangements can be made. However, persons or representatives with matters appearing on the meeting notice agenda who wish to be physically present at the meeting must observe the following requirements. 1, in accordance with existing requirements imposed by the governor, meeting rooms will be limited in terms of the total number of persons that may be physically present at the same time, including board, committee members, and staff. Satellite rooms will be available for overflow, and the meeting will be broadcast in real time in those satellite rooms. Persons who wish to participate in any particular matter on the meeting agenda will be asked to wait in the satellite room until that agenda item is reached, at which point attendees will be rotated between the main meeting room and the satellite rooms as appropriate. Social distancing must be maintained in both the main meeting room and in satellite rooms. Face masks or coverings will be required in accordance with Governor Baker's May 1st, 2020 COVID-19 Order Number 31, order requiring face coverings in public places where social distancing is not possible. A copy of that order can be found at mass.gov/doc/May1-2020 masks and face coverings /download. Failure to comply with these requirements may lead to an attendee's removal from the meeting. Phew. First on the agenda, we have the consent agenda. Any members of the board have any questions or issues with anything in the consent agenda?
Harry, can you call for a vote to allow Paul and I to disengage the motion?
Thank you very much.
That's
I
not
forgot about that.
necessary. We're still under the order. We don't have to do that.
Okay.
We don't have to do that?
No.
According to Mr. Ruda, we don't have to do that. Because
Even
of,
better.
Because there's no open meeting, there's no, we're still under the governor's order that allows us to do that.
the different governor's orders that change infrequently, we don't have to do that. Anyone have anything on the consent agenda?
I just got one question. I don't want to hold up the whole consent agenda. At some point in the future, I want to look at the orchestra, entertainment, and amusement licenses. It seems ridiculous that, this cost isn't built into the regular permit. I don't think, is the Board of Health going to check a jukebox Is dancing gonna cause the chief to have to go down to that place, a few more times? Doesn't cover any costs associated with anything. So at some point, that should just be rolled into the regular permitting cost. It's nickel and dimes. There's no real value. The town's not creating any kind of oversight on these issues. So to me, it's just part of the regular permit price.
Any thoughts?
I think, Mr. Chair, my understanding, those have to be done in the way they're done in order to license, for example, the pool table, jukebox, video games. I just think it's, Michelle probably knows better than us, but I think it's a part of the state requirement to have to issue those licenses in this manner, right?
We can get that answer, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
My only question too, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
are all these businesses reopening, do we know? Because it's,
Michelle?
At this point, I've had majority of the applications come in, but not all of them. But I figured if you could approve them, and then we could, the next meeting, explain why they will not be reapplying for next year's licenses.
Mr. Chairman, we're also fast-tracking this. We usually do it,
right.
we usually do it in December, right?
We do.
Because we're looking at a different model going into December, so
All right.
we're trying to fast-track a lot of this now. It's not gonna hurt to approve these now, and if we need to do some more approvals remotely, we can do that.
All right, and I just want to name names, I just want to make sure everybody on here that's being issued a license, will be holding a license, will be open. I mean, I know they have a certain time frame that they can be closed, but okay, I'm good. If
I agree with
they're
you.
good.
Mr. Johnson, anything? Paul, Mr. Marcy, anything?
Now, I want to be sure, I do want to be sure that we pass these with the assumption that all requisite paperwork will be completed by December 31st.
For these, Mr. Chairman, for these applicants, everything has been completed and submitted and is in order. For any that don't appear on this list, they will certainly be in order before they come onto the agenda.
So everyone that is on this list has submitted a renewal application?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Ruda, we need to do a roll call vote, correct?
Correct.
Roll call vote.
Jay Johnson, aye.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
I'm RTI. Paul Joseph, aye.
Carrie Siganovich, aye. Unanimous. That's that. Galinsky. Mr. Ruda.
Mr. Chairman, based on our prior conversation and discussion, I strongly recommend that the Board of Selectmen appoint tonight Stan Galinsky to be the highway foreman. As you know, he's been in a position where he's been acting foreman for quite some time. During Vinnie's absence, he stepped up and he handled that position as superintendent for an extended period of time. And I can't think of a better person for the job.
Thank you, Mr. Ruda. Board
So
members.
moved, Mr. Chairman.
So moved. Not even any discussion.
Well, after the second,
I'm sorry?
after the second, right?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say, excuse me, Stanley was a candidate for the superintendent's job. As Mr. Ruda just stated, he's been filling in admirably as the acting foreman. He was filling in when superintendent was out. Stanley was a excellent candidate for the superintendent's job. I have no doubt in my mind that Stanley will be an excellent foreman for the department. He will help keep the department moving forward, giving the taxpayers and the residents of Dudley the services that they deserve. And thank Mr. Joseph for making the motion. I would have made it if I had a chance, but before the vote, I just want to say I wholeheartedly support Stanley's ascension into the role of foreman.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Well said. Anyone else? Mr. Joseph, Mr. Marcy, other?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Marcy.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman? Yeah, no, I stand, this is a well-deserved promotion for him. He's already acted in the role, showed us and everybody in the town he can do it, so wholeheartedly support him being foreman.
Thank you, Mr. Marcy. Anyone else? Anything? Congratulations, Stan.
Roll call.
Well done.
Thank you.
Earned. Thank you. Roll call vote. Mr. Joseph, roll call vote.
Paul Joseph, aye.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Aye.
Two more, we're
Ray
almost there.
Johnson, aye.
Carrie Sigenovich, aye, unanimous.
Good.
Congratulations, Stan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stanley.
Next up on the appointments, Highway Superintendent Jeffrey Murray. Mr. Murray, could you please come to the podium? Greetings. Mr. Rudy, do you have anything here?
Mr. Chairman, after well, as you know, we initially posted the position in July. We wanted to get a better cross-section of candidates, and Mr. Murray applied in the second round, and here he is tonight as our hopefully the Board of Selectmen's appointee. Maybe you can take a minute or two and kind of give everybody an idea of your background, Jeff, and we have him scheduled after the appointment.
Background in, and as well as working for I've worked in several other roles. I have a pretty well-rounded the skills that there. I look forward to all the other employees and the as administrator as the to work to
Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
Shane, a third of is the
I'm not sure.
Need to speak, maybe you could Fred, so you're not demoted.
Oh,
Jeff, come on.
Time, right?
Yeah.
okay.
Don't be bad.
Well, for the purpose,
Mr. Joseph, can you? Excellent.
I grew up in a family over 35 years as a with various other most recently with utility development. Roadway, heavy highway work with many other you know, that the town maybe resurfacing area that, you know, anybody that woman as well as the other departments that whatever would be under my control.
Mr. Chairman, we've also, when we're gonna in man is a lot of the begin that
Any board?
Also has experience. So he kind of, I went to Oxford over there, so what are you gonna do? Felt attracted. So it goes well tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Do you have anything?
That's fine.
John's.
And, you know, with a small town and lots of issues, you're gonna need that experience, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Marcy, Mr. Joseph, do either of you have anything?
I'm very happy with what I saw on paper and what I heard him say. He's not only got the good in terms of specific skills, he's articulate, and that bodes well for the future.
Thank you, Paul. Mr. Marcy?
Yep, and my input. Yep, I think that Mr. Murray will bring a fresh set of eyes to the position. As Mr. Johnson said, he does have a broad experience that he will need. I think this role will be probably a little bit more hands-on, but I think that's a challenge he can handle. And I look forward to helping make him and his team successful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Marcy. Yes. Looking forward to the future, Mr. Murray.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to appoint Jeff Murray, Highway Superintendent, with a start date of December 7th, 2020.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Jay Johnson, aye.
Jay, did you second that?
Yes, sir.
Paul Joseph, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
Carrie Sigenovich, aye, unanimous. Either falling over each other to second that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd just like to acknowledge that Mr. Murray's father's here tonight, so I'd like to thank Bob Murray for coming in and supporting his son. And could I ask that we bring the new superintendent and the new foreman up for and out there on social media. So if we could bring
Just clear, I didn't see it. Picture. Gets me in trouble. Each corner, maybe?
If we get everybody in.
do.
Perfect.
Term to expire,
Director, term to expire.
Second.
motion. Discussion?
Mark, yes.
Five.
She here? Next up, to expire December.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And for Vinnie and everything over the time. Superintendent Murray. Good luck with that. One of the last formal meetings of the, all the names up. Term expiring December. Gulkin, Robbie LaRue. Yes.
Board. Motion?
Second. Okay, just a quick question for the names are repeats, obviously.
I have a couple that are in back with everything. Probably looking to add a couple more shortly.
That was my
Probably
next
after-
question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Roll call vote.
Mark, yes.
And I.
Chief? Thanks, Chief.
Appointments, we have Vincent Polator effective 2024.
Mr. Vinnie didn't know he was being, so,
Kind of like the cable.
Mr. Chairman, and taking over Ken Britt. He worked. Thank you.
Letter. Mr.
Make a motion to rail trail coordinator effective to expire 1/1.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, but I can't think for Ken's shoes. Great guy, wonderful guy, and I met him when I was on the planning board 20 years ago, and he was rail trail, full speed ahead back then. I mean, other people acting on it, obviously, but I don't think we would have had the trails that we have without all Ken's tireless, donated, free efforts on behalf of the town.
Thank you. Well said.
Been a great use for your qualifications and hopefully a few less hours to do this, right?
it'd be less pay anyway, Mr.
A lot more peace and quiet out there, though, I bet. Mr. Marcy, Mr. Joseph, anything?
Yeah, I'm just glad Vinnie's even willing to do this, and I am totally confident how the rail trail will function under his leadership, and I'm grateful.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph.
I will echo Mr. Joseph. I'm glad that Vinny's going to stay involved with the town. You know, just big shoes to fill with Ken, you know, not being there, but I think Vinny, you know, has an eye for history around Dudley, and he'll be able to kind of, you know, tie that into all the stuff that he'll work on with the rail trail. So Vinny, thank you for staying involved.
Vinny, thank you for taking this on, seriously. Really appreciate this. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Jay Johnson, aye.
Come on, aye.
Paul Joseph, aye.
Gary Siganovich, aye, unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Paletta. Next up, we have a presentation for Mr. Paletta. Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was delegated to me, I guess, to kick off, and, you know, it's not very often we have fun and festive things, and unfortunately with COVID, we're not as fun and festive as we probably could be. But what can we say about Vinny? You know, hard worker, dedicated, industrious, self-motivated, perfect person for the highway department, jack of all trades, first guy to dive into the garage when they need help, first guy to be out there back when he was a frontline worker, worked his way up at the fire department, a number of years down there, worked his way up at the highway department till we got to the top. It was a fairly seamless transition. I mean, somebody made a comment at the town meeting about having 4 town clerks for 50 years. Well, I think we've had 3 superintendents for about 40 years. Says a lot for the person that Vinny is. I want him to come up and tell the story one more time about how he got to fix the tour bus at Indian Ranch. I think the people that never heard it will get a chuckle out of that. But I always tell Vinny, I've known Vinny for 30 years. He's been my friend a lot longer than I was a selectman. He's going to be my friend a lot longer when I'm not a selectman. Can't say enough about Vinny, what he's meant to the town, what he's meant to the highway department, what he meant to his family. He's a father, grandfather, maybe even a great-grandfather. One of those, too, so. I don't think Italian. Oh, I'm gonna once in a while, but do big shoes. That's all I got to say, Mr.
Well said, Mr. Sullivan.
Dead serious.
Hey, Mr. Joseph.
One thing. The king.
Thank you.
And Vinny, all I can called, you know, a resident who came to me, and you know, I came to you on stuff. You and your team jumped right on it, and it just shows how dedicated you were, and you're a fantastic human being to go along with that. So thank you for all that you've done, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you, Mr. Marcy. Vinny, what John just said about a fantastic human being, I mean, your work ethic, they just don't make them like you anymore. I've seen some of the things you fixed at the highway department. I think the character MacGyver was based on you. Really, I mean that. Thank you for being here for 43 years. Thank you for taking over the rail trail. Yeah, thank you. I sincerely mean that. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, on behalf of the town people and the Board of Selectmen and Town Hall employees, everybody that has benefited from Vinny's friendship, Vinny's hard work, Vinny just being who he is, we have a small token of appreciation that Vinny can hang on the wall and throw Play-Doh at when he's playing with his great-grandkid and see if it sticks. It's a plaque Town of Dudley, Massachusetts presents to Vincent Paletta with sincere appreciation and recognition of 33 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Dudley. On behalf of the community and staff, Kerry J. Siganovich, Chairman, John J. Massey, Vice Chairman, Jason M. Johnson, Clerk, excuse me, Paul M. Joseph, Member, Stephen P. Sullivan, Member, Jonathan J. Ruda, Town Administrator. This is for you, Vincent.
Want to get a,
Might as well.
want to get the obligatories? Want to have Paula come out?
No, 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 no.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I don't
It's
want
you
to.
guys.
Hey, your hair matches your phone.
Hey, can I get a shot? Just, I can tell how he is at home.
Chief.
Thank you.
I'll take
Chief?
off my,
You want to come up?
I'll take off my case so I can see the same thing.
Chief.
Chief? He was on the fire
He was on
department.
the fire department.
I know. I don't want to take away from your moment, though.
You'll have yours someday.
Perfect.
Oh, that's
Mr.
nice.
Ruda, to your right. Very nice. Nice. Well,
George. Let George get up there.
one more.
Sure. Everybody in, the water's warm.
Another long-term fire guy.
Andy got along with George, that alone.
Yeah, right there. He's gonna get 2 plaques.
That's hazardous duty pay.
One
We got 2 plaques already.
One more. Big cheese.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, does it? Can see it in your eyes. I'll send that to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Vinny, you gonna tell him the story about,
We'll do the elbow.
you gonna tell him the Waylon Jennings story? Oh, well, the statute of limitations, statute of limitations ran out.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
Vince.
you.
You heard that story, right?
Yeah.
No, can we hear it later?
Well, I'm gonna give the dime store version, because Vinny didn't want to do it. And I'm probably gonna tell it wrong, so you can get up. But there was an act at Indian Ranch, Country Act, several years back. About 25, Vinny, maybe? All of that. And the tour bus broke down, so they couldn't get to the next stop.
Waylon Jennings.
Waylon Jennings. And it was a Sunday, so not a lot of places were open, and somehow the underground repair tip line got to Vinny. Guess what? Waylon made it to his next show. Vinny took care of him. I
And so
think-
did Vinny. They could-
called him and they said, "You fixed Waylon Jennings' bus?" He's like, "Waylon who?"
Well, he was probably in the middle of a pitch game, too. He probably was trying to trump the low there, and he couldn't want to get out of it. But yeah, so Vinny's a mechanic to the stars, not only to the town. Waylon who? Too funny.
Good stuff. I wouldn't want to have to follow. Go ahead.
Don't worry, it's not going to be
How
anything
dry
like
can you
that.
be?
So maybe some have noticed that it's like we're in an operating room environment with the lights that are in here tonight. That indicates that work began on replacement of all the lighting and fixtures in the town hall as part of the Green Communities Grant. All the fluorescent lighting in the building and in the highway building will be replaced with energy-efficient, low-maintenance LED lighting fixtures. Additionally, work will begin on weatherproofing the entire town hall, including the police station. And then finally, an evaluation of the building's HVAC system will be conducted, and based on the findings, we will replace, upgrade, and improve the components as required to improve the energy efficiency of the HVAC system. So the lights need to be programmed, that's why they're so bright. As part of the Green Communities program, this work is being completed at no cost to the town. We also made the schools eligible, and they're having a similar, 2 of the 3 schools are having a similar work done under the town's Green Communities Grant. And the value of this is right around $250,000 for it to work between the schools, the town hall, the HVAC systems and so forth, and the highway barn. So this kind of fell off the radar screen before, for a while, but we're back on track, obviously. We were approved for the CARE Act, this second round submission this past week. And so I'd like to publicly thank the work of Deb Thibodeau and the Treasurer Collector's Office, specifically Amanda Jacobson, for the work that they both put in to date on collecting, tracking, and accounting for the money expended and projected through December 30th through the CARE Act. And as you're all aware, the money is provided to cities and towns to offset the cost of technology, public health staffing, social distancing requirements in public buildings. We spent a lot of money to host the presidential election, as you can well imagine. Paid for all of our staffing needs for that, and funded related to remote work and education, sanitation, etc. So recently, within the last week, we were approved for a second round of reimbursement in projected expenses through December 30th, and that amount was right around $700,000. I had submitted and sent out a tiered staffing plan to the board. I wanted to quickly touch base to see if there were any questions as to how that's going to work. I know everybody's had a chance to read it. Essentially what we're doing is we're staffing the town hall in cohorts so that one group of people are here, the other group are working remotely. Somebody's having a bag of chips.
Go ahead, Mr. Riddle.
So,
hi, we can hear that. Could you mute?
Not me.
No. No.
half the staff is going to be here half the week. The other half's going to be working remotely. If there's a reason to quarantine that cohort, then we haven't lost the entire building. The other half can come in, who have been working remotely, and man the offices, and so forth and so on. It's going to rotate. As you're aware, our numbers have been rising, which is consistent with a lot of the other cities and towns throughout the state and the state in general. It's a tiered plan, which means that somewhere in the first or second week of December, we're going to be looking at a model similar to what Auburn is doing now, which is a drive-through model. There'll actually be a drive-through service placed at the second floor entrance, so people can take that first driveway in, drive up, get basic services, request application permits, that sort of thing, some basic services through the town clerk's office, and what else? And pay bills. So we're going to keep it. We're going to have that model, as well as an appointment by appointment only model, which will have a receptionist downstairs. If it's a Board of Health assistant, that person will be taking temperatures. They'll run an appointment schedule 1 day a week, and the next level of response will have to play by ear, because we're pretty much maxed out after that.
Thank you, Mr. Ruda. Any questions, Mr. Sullivan? Sorry.
Oh, it's okay, Mr. Chair. I miss Mr. Massey, too. I had a chance to sit down with Mr. Ruda last week. We discussed this, and I think he didn't read his whole plan in its entirety, but, he has in here, absolute expectation of the Board of Selectmen is that the order will be followed, and any town employee will serve as an example for the public without an exception. We can't expect the people to adhere to certain guidelines and restrictions, and not the town. As Mr. Ruda just touched upon it, it's extremely important that we keep these cohorts separate, so one positive contact doesn't have any catastrophic effect on staffing, morale, and services. And I'm sure I speak for the board, and I'm sure you're going to emphasize it. It is the expectation of the Board of Selectmen, through the administrator, through the department heads, that everyone will adhere to any and all guidelines put forward by Governor Baker and/or the town. And I can't be any more firm than that. Nobody wants to be made an example of, and nobody wants to have to make somebody an example. But if it's brought to our attention, it'll be dealt with swiftly, and it will not be done with malice as a forethought, but it will be dealt with.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
And then finally, Mr. Chairman, we're in the process, we've received, in the past week, we've already received over 14 applications for part-time recycling center attendants. So I've delegated some of that work to Michelle and Stan to go through those applications and screen those applicants and have them come in and try to start phasing in the part-time attendance that was previously authorized. And that'll put our two highway people who've been working in recycling centers since before June 1st back into the trucks and being ready for the winter. So we're moving forward on that.
Thank you, Mr. Ruda. Yes, Mr. Jones.
Going back to the previous topic, glad to hear that safety is a priority in this town. Not sure everyone took it as seriously as we needed to early on, so I'm glad it's, we're making a stronger case for the proper behavior expected of us and everyone who works for the town. Follow-up question would be, how are we handling performance management, especially when it's not elected officials, and how are you going to handle that?
We're going to use a progressive discipline if necessary. We have it's spelled out. I think everybody knows what they should be doing. I think we've been at this since March, so no one should not be aware of what the expectation is at this point. So we would, if a complaint were received, I would notify it up, and I notify it parallel to department heads to handle the matter.
May I?
Sure.
Would it make sense to send out a reminder?
I think that we can point to at least this being the third reminder of the issue.
I
think we're done reminding.
Okay.
I'm less interested in the disciplinary track because, obviously that's a result of not meeting some obligations. So the question is the communications between department heads and their staff, and is that very clear? I wouldn't expect it all to be through the town administrator.
We have a regular meeting with sometimes three of the major department heads on a weekly basis. So I can tell you for certain that at least two of the three major department heads, water and sewer, I speak to George regularly, and it just so happens that the water and sewer clerk is the chairman of the Board of Health, and we have regular staff meetings. So there's no question that there's regular communication going on specific to the pandemic.
Okay,
and how we should be.
With the positive intent, I'm sure everyone's going to do what they can, as long as there's continuous communication back and forth.
There's no question about it.
Okay, thank you.
That's why I mentioned continuous communication. That's why I mentioned a reminder, because some people can get lax over time, in my opinion. Mr. Marcy, Mr. Joseph, do either of you have anything?
I'm good. Good.
Thank you both. Anything else, Mr. Ruda?
No, I think we've, actually, I did want to mention that we did get our Chapter 90 funding for this year. I can't believe with all these highway guys that I'm reporting at. What was the amount, Vinnie? Do you remember? 438. 438. Part of that will be used to replace the front loader as authorized by the town meeting.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Sullivan?
Mr. Chair, to the administrator, and I guess Vinnie still answers questions. Any unexpended funds from this year's chapter, are we allowed to roll that over to next?
It's my continue with the projects and funding and all.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Principal assessor tax. 723. Good evening.
Okay. So the purpose of this tax classification hearing is to determine whether to distribute the tax levy equally among all classes of property, or to reduce the share of the levy by the residential classes and shift some of the burden onto the commercial, industrial, and personal property classes. So currently, you can see, I can't because I don't have my glasses on, 92.4% is residential properties. We have industrial is 2.4, personal properties 2.2, and commercial properties are 3% of the town. So we hold this classification hearing every year to decide on whether you want a single tax rate or if you want to shift the burden over to the commercial, industrial, and personal property classes. So here is a historical percentages of each class going back to 2013. As you can see, none of them really shifted up or down by very much. We pretty much stayed the same. So out of the whole town, we only have one taxpayer that's over $5 million in value, and that's Massachusetts Electric, who really wouldn't be impacted if we shifted the burden over to the commercial and industrial properties. We have 3 taxpayers that are over $4 million, one of them being Boston Gas. And then we have 5 taxpayers that are over $2 million in value. So we have 16 taxpayers that are over $1 million in value. Everybody else is less than that, and as you can see, Verizon New England and Charter Communication are 2 big companies that, of course, probably would not be burdened if we shifted the tax rate, but all those other businesses in town would really feel the effects of shifting the burden onto them and taking it off the residential properties. So right now, our single-family homes average at $281,400. Our condos average $117,899. 2 families average $208,191. 3 families $209,303. Commercial properties $281,194, and industrial properties $299,034. So every year I show you a 5% shift from the residential properties over to the commercial industrial properties. So as you can see, if I shift it by 5%, the proposed tax rate right now is $12.30 per 1,000. If I shift 5% over to residential, or over to commercial, I should say, there'd be 2 separate tax rates. Residential would be $12.25, commercial and industrial would be $12.92. So if we multiply that out by the average values, the average residential taxpayer would see a decrease of $14 per year in their tax bill, but the commercial industrial properties would see almost $250 in decreases. You can see and off the residential very much. Commercial industrial property almost $1,500, save $84. This is in town to going there's not any of the classes. For 2021 are based, we have it PDF. Of this year, the towns have split. Last year is the lowest, and we dropped during towns that are increased by 7. Looking forward into the market, single families. Industrial 280. So we picked up value for new growth, 14,000. So this is a 5. We all know that in fiscal 2.5 overrides, 7 if I'm not mistaken, off in fiscal 2, and that's just the proposed rate. You can see we're still the all have single tax rate. So in conclusion, is recommending that the burden.
Any questions?
Thank, and I'll get the information tonight. Differential of only 6 last 8 years. About 8/10 with our breakdown of community. We do the best for their support. For the additional revenue. So I just want to thank.
Thank you for the presentation. To echo Mr. on the data. You know, 0.8 years of commercial property. % decrease. Should it be,
I think that's why I'm pushing so hard with there are real depressed roles. Yeah. Economic growth and expand the tax. The commercial and being redistributed. You know, put that sort of emphasis on these type of projects.
yeah, to continue, you know, the water projects and, you know, I don't remember the 3 or 4 programs about fixing roads and it's gonna be important if, you know, that 3% goes to 2%, goes to 1%. You know, it's just more and more burden, you know, more and more open properties, more and more burden on, you know, residential, so I'm glad there's some movement in the right direction.
And that's, I know the treasurer, he often talks about as we retire that, you know, that as it's retired is when it should be replaced as opposed to just keep stacking it on, stacking on, stacking on. And when we see the opportunity like this to, with the tax rate is actually decreasing, it couldn't happen at a better time now that we're talking about water and sewer infrastructure upgrades, because it's a lot less of a hit to the taxpayer when it's distributed during a time when the tax rate actually goes down, obviously.
Would it be fair to say that we're not so much losing commercial as that we're gaining residential? Could that be the drop in commercial?
I would have to look back and see what we lost for commercial. I can't think of anything off the top of my head because it is a small percentage, but like Jason said, it could be a concern. I'd have to look into it. I mean, you don't have Stevens Mill anymore. You don't have Ethan Allen. Those all came down because those aren't, you know, industrial businesses anymore. I mean, that's over the years. I can't think off the top of my head.
I was just thinking because people are building houses, but no one's building a new mill, is my point.
Oh. Yeah, if commercial stays stagnant and a few more residents.
What I was trying to say.
He's over there. You know, that's why it's
Talking, we'll come right.
It's important too, Mr. Chair. All, you know, board of the town, and I know I can speak for with impact. Farms can be built. What's presented to people is we can offer people a tax rate is, but when you're handcuffed, I don't want to be insulting, but because they at night too, well, we need felt condescending as a board. We're working treasurer and the administrations. There's for us, yeah, people. Two school system. Or businesses or commercial services like this. It's a never-ending battle. Now to look at that 1260, was like 17 something. I'm on my soapbox, but so I'm getting off.
Mr. Carmignani?
Had made mention and how 2019 up to $2.98 million. Increase of $50,000. So for my so I'll borrow it from this to be having a one as a component. Great job of explaining. Should remain the game. We're allowed to. And every project. No, nothing. Both of them. The fire station. Dead. $24 for the building. Approximately $400,000 is going to go down. What keep things level? 20 or maybe 20. Good thoughts to have. But I'd like to see that down. But I don't think the that was created. Thank you.
Have anything? Marcy, Mr. Joseph?
For me, every year, Lisa, thank you guys put in. What Johnson had said about underscores rehab the mill. So, we'll work to keep the tax rate the way it is. I think we have to keep an environment that shows Dudley still over provision. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Marcy.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could just
Yes.
interject quickly, before we forget, if there's anybody in the room that, from the public that wants to comment during the public hearing, we should remember to ask them for comments, but as you recall, as the board recalls, 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, we went through our capital improvement planning grant-funded program where we came up with a capital improvement plan. We're working out the policies. That plan, that 5-year plan, that everybody just does as a matter of course, speaks directly to what Mr. Carmignani was saying about retiring debt, replacing debt, and keeping it level. Not only from a financial standpoint, but as a taxpayer, you want to have your bill, you don't want to have your bill go way down and then go through the roof because it's not being managed correctly. The preferable thing to do is to keep the tax bill as steady as possible. Not too high, not too low. Find that one spot where it's manageable. And things that need to be replaced, because we're a town and we do need to replace things through the tax base, are something that we're considering on a 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan. And so when that comes back around, which will be in a few short months, that's the time that we should really point out to those who are interested, this is how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and this is what we hope the result's going to be. And it gives us an opportunity to sell the program and, you know, the purchase itself.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Makes sense. Anything else? Board, Chairman will entertain a motion.
How do you want it worded?
Looks like we want to vote on a
We want
residential.
to close it first, though.
We'll close the public hearing at 8:44 PM.
So, Mr. Chair, then, make a motion based on the recommendation of the Board of Assessors to the Board of Selectmen that we vote on a residential factor of 1.00, which continues a single tax rate.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Jay Johnson, aye.
Paul Joseph, aye. John Marcy, aye.
Gary Siganovich, aye, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Dudley Women's Club, Andrea Kane with Veterans Gift Card Donations, as well as Deb LaPlaca.
Absolutely.
Good evening. If you'd like, you can come here to the better microphone if you'd like.
Well, I'm not
If
going to
you'd
say
like to
anything.
you could-
Club president and the veterans that the veterans get these gift certificates. Our ladies have donated $120 worth of gift certificates from a variety of businesses, local and otherwise, and we hope that the veterans can really benefit, and we appreciate them. So a couple of gift boxes and lots of gift certificates that I'm sure can be distributed and well needed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the board? Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, that's an amazing contribution, donation. I'm sure Mr. Rogerson, our Veterans Service Officer, will make good use of those. Can you just expound a little bit on whom or who some of the local businesses are that donated? Because at this time, this pandemic, it's important that we patronize these businesses, and if certain businesses stepped up to the plate when they were asked, I think it's incumbent upon the Board of Selectmen to make sure we recognize them so we can step up to the plate and support them.
Well, then I'm sorry, I misled you. These are gift certificates that were purchased by Dudley Women's Club members from various businesses, so that they weren't donations from the businesses. The donation are from the Women's Club members.
And those, Mr. Chairman, those donations from local businesses do come, but they come usually in the form of goods or services.
Grants to
Yeah,
them,
in addition
I
to
would
this.
say that, you know, the Women's Club's doing a calendar raffle that we're doing in January, and there have been businesses that have donated to that, and we'll, you know, I'm sure come back and tell you all about that, and we'll publicly thank the variety of businesses that do help out whenever we ask them.
So let me change that then, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Certainly.
And we acknowledge the generosity of the Dudley Women's Club, and as opposed to patronizing local businesses, make a public plea that if people want to support a program like that, they can feel free to contact the Women's Club and make a donation so it can be put to good use down the road, such as the calendar. And I'm sure cash is king at any time.
Always.
So we'll change that focus of that conversation about businesses, and people so inclined, they should make a donation to the Dudley Women's Club.
We would appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything, John or Paul?
Yeah.
Veterans agent come up?
Yeah. Once again, Mr. Chairman, the Dudley Women's Club shows that even with the restrictions of COVID-19 and the restrictions in terms of masks and distancing and personal contact, they still manage to help out the veterans and the veteran service officer. And Stephen and I talked about this today at the house, how grateful and how meaningful this is, and how he's got to figure out where it's going to go to all of the veterans. So I know on behalf of the veterans, but more so on behalf of the community and the sense of community that you create by the work that you've done and continue to do, as shown by tonight's donation. So God bless you and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Steve, how are we, sir?
Yeah, the Dudley Women's Club has been a great help to the veteran community for many years. This year, unfortunately, because of pandemic, they had contacted me, I think 6 weeks ago, to advise me that they would not be able to do the turkey baskets they generally provide at Christmas time, which was a little bit saddened, but we understand what's going on. I did this morning, was able to pick up some baskets from another organization for Thanksgiving, which I had delivered most of the day. But over the years, the Dudley Women's Club has come through beyond belief. I've had veterans who were disabled, did not have had money to pay for their mortgage, but they did not have money to buy presents for their children. And they had come through to make sure all those children received a good amount of presents since their parents weren't able to provide. So I have nothing but kudos to the Dudley Women's Club for many years of service, not just, the last few years, but many years. Even Rich Level was a service officer. They were there to give lots of help. So surely we appreciate it very, very much. So we should give them a round of applause, really.
Thank you very much to you as well as your members for doing this.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Important to be kind this time of year, and that pretty much embodies that. Would you like to come up for another photo?
Dibs here.
Last time I had this many photos taken.
That's right, it's camera.
Have camera will travel.
Did you catch that?
Let me say something else too. In September, the VFW, I'm the commander of the VFW local for Webster and Dudley. We had given them a plaque, which actually I had put together in March, but because of the pandemic, was able to reproduce it. So we did. It was in the paper. All the work, not just for the team, but for the VFW.
Yeah, definitely the veterans are
Oh, wow, smiling.
You're too funny.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Next up on the,
In a good way.
thank you. In an entertaining way.
Thank you
Next
very-
up on the agenda, we have Amoresco. Mr. Ruda, what do we have on this? It looks like absent input, further questions from the Board of Selectmen, vote to authorize town administrator to execute final agreement.
As we've been discussing right along, Mr. Chairman, this, and I brought it up at the town meeting, we've had several drafts go out. We're really close to closing on the Amoresco capped landfill
Got it.
solar array deal.
Thank you.
It's between a $55,000 and $62,000 annual ground lease and a pilot program that goes along with it. It's going to be between $85,000 and $90,000 annual payment to the town and a $10,000 savings on top of that in energy. through solar credits. So I'd like to go ahead and execute that agreement if the board agrees. There's no further input or questions on the drafts that have been circulated.
Any board members have any questions or input? I do. I want to thank...
Comment.
Yes, Mr. Joseph.
I think you were gonna do, or I'm gonna do what you were gonna do.
Do you want to do it
And that
together?
is to
I'm kidding.
congratulate, let's do that. Let's congratulate the town administrator for getting this done and the financial impact and a significant sense of community that this will create for years to come.
Well said, Mr. Joseph. In this day and time, it would have been real easy for you to just drop this ball and just forget about it and let it go, but you didn't. You picked it up and you ran with it. There were all these difficulties going on, you still somehow managed to get this done. How many years have we been working on this?
Almost
8?
4, Mr. Chairman,
It feels like 8.
since
We'll
we
call
signed
it
the
8.
contract with them.
Before your time. I'm always saying about things that happened before my time on the board. This was before your time. And you picked it up and got it done. So thank you,
Michelle brought it
congratulations.
to my attention day one.
Well, it goes without saying.
Michelle kept the ball in the field, in play.
Thank you, Michelle.
No.
It just takes that little look. You gave it to him, that little look. That keeps it in the field. So do you need anything from us? Do you need a vote, or you just
I'd
need me
like you
to
to
stop?
vote to authorize me to execute the agreement for both the land lease and the pilot with Amoresco.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and we have a motion and a second, numerous motions and numerous seconds. Roll call vote.
All right, what you gonna do?
Jay Johnson, aye.
Stephen Sullivan.
Paul Joseph, aye.
Why not?
John Markey,
Carrie Sigenovich, aye, unanimous. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, new business, is Board of Selectmen vote permission to overspend snow and ice fiscal year '21 if required.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Motion and a second, discussion. Mr. Rudy, you were about to say something.
Mr. Chairman, this is an annual request, particularly now that, we probably will not meet, if we don't need to, in the month of December. In the middle of a week of a snowstorm or a blizzard is a bad time to run out of money. This gives us the ability to overspend the account, deficit spend the account, which is perfectly legal, but the selectmen have to authorize that. We're nowhere near touching that account at this point. But this gives us the ability to continue on and not have to stop, call a meeting, and request permission if we were to run out of money.
That's a good plan. I remember, I think it was 2014, where we didn't get snow until after Christmas, and then we got hammered with many multi-feet storms, one right after another, so that's a good idea. Any further discussion on this? Roll call vote. Who was the mover? Was that you?
And then John Marcy second.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Paul Joseph, aye. Yeah, Paul Joseph, aye.
Twice.
Jay Johnson, aye.
Gary Sigenovich, aye, unanimous. Thank you all. Next up is board member comments. Mr. Sullivan?
Mr. Chair, a lot of moving parts tonight. This is a good meeting, productive meeting. A lot of good information out there. Good results. We have a new full-time foreman, no full-time superintendent. Chief's got his reserves.
New rail trail coordinator.
New rail trail coordinator,
Yeah.
who's already left. It was a good meeting, Mr. Chair. We did a good job tonight. We didn't do a acknowledgement, but as we all know, COVID is raging just as predicted. CDC guidelines try to restrict Thanksgiving. A little bit of a crimp on the celebration this year in order to have a better one next year. But speaking for myself and probably on behalf of the board, I wish everyone happy Thanksgiving, healthy, safe, enjoy your family, But continue to keep an eye on your neighbors, the shut-ins, the people that need extra attention. It's been very. So happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mr. Sol.
And then for.
Just a couple things. Thank everyone for turning out at the drive-through pancake breakfast for the Boy Scouts a few weeks ago, and then followed that up by some pretty good wreath sales. It was a much different type of fundraiser where there wasn't kids walking around in the streets selling stuff. It's more word of mouth and lovely Facebook. But, you know, thank you for everyone that participated. And then, I don't know how many times I see people that just don't pull the mask over their nose. You know, it's not much to ask. Just cover your nose, cover your mouth. You don't have to like it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Marcy?
Nothing really, Mr. Siganovich, other than just to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. This is a great meeting, great job by all. Lots of appointments. I'm proud of the Dudley Women's Club and all that they've done and continue to do. And looking forward to finishing the year strong and starting off 2021 hopefully on a better note. So everybody be good to each other.
Thank you, Mr. Marcy. Yes, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. We've been doing the right thing around here, it seems, where our numbers are going up, but they're not going up as much as some other places. So I ask all of you to please continue to do the right thing, and please continue to be kind to one another. Thank you. Board member comments? Well, no, not board member comments. I didn't scratch that off. Departmental communication. George, do you have anything?
Hey, good evening. Yeah, just a couple quick updates. The water main project on Schofield Ave has come to pretty much a completion, aside from some cosmetic things. There was issues with some trenches there due to a gas situation and some other issues, but that's going to be milled down in the future and then blended to the left side, to the right side of the road, so that should be taken care of down the line. That will allow that'll come to fruition for charging that main sometime in the late January timeframe, and that's going to be our PFAS blending main for the two stations. Along with that, the well for Station 3 is ready to be installed. The well is already pounding, it's already placed in the ground. It's the actual piping into the station. We've just been delayed from the COVID, lack of assistance from some of the vendors to come in with us and do it, so we're waiting on that. I'm hoping February, beginning of February, or even later part of January, that'll come to fruition and that'll be able to be activated, so we'll activate everything together. Station 1 project is going strong. 3 wells have been pounded there. The casings are in, they've been tested. They're going to be retested again. Similar situations as down here with the PFAS issues, but we're going to see how that turns out. We may have different results there, and hopefully that'll work out for us there. That station hopefully will come online sometime next summer or just after the summer. I'm trying to push it hard. I've been in contact with the big wigs at DEP today, had about an hour conversation with them. They're really rooting for us to get everything done as fast as we can. I just want the residents of the town to know that there will be added lead and copper sampling that is going to be forced on us because of the EPA standards now. So we'll be going out doing a lot of that in the next year because of the new well sources. And that's an EPA requirement passed down through the DEP. Concerns about the COVID. We do our best to keep our employees segregated. The problem is going to come into play working on a sewer main that breaks because we don't sometimes know what's going on in the town here, subject to past many months ago when we had an issue. One of my operators is not able to do any sewer work whatsoever, and it stays segregated from myself so that we keep our integrity intact as far as operators go for our licenses. That's by the state. We have to make sure we have a licensed operator on hand to keep these pump stations running. So we're not playing games with that. If I have to pull in help from somewhere else, I will, but right now, it's only myself and the sewer personnel will be working on any type of sewer break, and luckily, we've been okay right now. So a lot of good things are happening, and for the first time in the history of this sewer department, the garage now houses all the trucks and all the equipment and the Jetta, and nothing's left inside anymore because we were able to reconfigure the existing garage and blow one side of it out and put a door over there. So now we can park all our equipment inside for the first time. So no defrosting trucks at the highway department anymore.
No more scraping snow off the windows.
That's correct. And safety.
Down here, George, or the garage up here?
Garage down here, I was looking at a Morton building way down the line because I just got tired of the equipment being outside, getting frosted up, and also exposed to any kind of theft or whatever. And the guys and I came up with an idea to put a giant door on the corner side of that building. The widthwise is not quite wide enough, but lengthwise it is. So we all moved everything the opposite way, put equipment, moved it around, spent a whole couple weeks reconfiguring and picking a driveway, and we've got a place to put trucks in there now. So all the trucks go in there. So that saves on that big cost. So a lot of good things happening.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
great.
Thanks, George.
Stan, do you have anything? You're hanging around.
Yeah, he has something.
He has something. Well, we'll let Stan talk next.
You know what it is?
You were talking about the booth for the wiring is pretty much complete on that, and now they're working on waterproofing the roof on that thing, so that thing should be completed this week. We'll have it ready to go down the town hall, and it'll be all set for the electrician to take over. And we're working on getting all our winter stuff ready, hauling in sand, mixing the salt with it, and we're just trying to keep everything ready for the winter. They're working on all the equipment, anything that's broken. We're still looking for a couple more hired drivers. We're still shorthanded on a couple of our runs on the private plowers. Hopefully we'll get some in the near future. But in the meantime, if something happens, we'll cover it. That's it.
Thank you, Stan, and congratulations again. Dean, do you have anything? Nothing. Steve, do you have anything?
Mr. Chairman, I forgot.
No, I don't.
Just a couple quick things, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'll just echo the comments that the other department has, just to say thank you to my folks for continuing to do their work through some really difficult times. They are really doing a good job adjusting on the fly as the goalpost keeps moving all the time with this virus. So thank you to them. We're continuing our toy drive, so that's going to be going for the next few weeks. So toys, clothing, gift cards, anything else like that is greatly appreciated that people have. Let's see, we're also working on a plan to have Santa Claus and a helper go around on a fire truck, shooting for December 4th, so that's a week from Friday. We'll try to get we're mapping out the route, so we'll try to get that route out to the town so that everybody can see where that is. We're trying to work on some GPS positioning and doing some tree lighting here and putting a program together for something that can be done. It's all going to be virtual for everybody else, but we're going to try to hit as many neighborhoods as we can during that time and bring Santa Claus around to say at least Merry Christmas to the kids as that goes through. So we'll be working again with the fire department to get that all organized and done. And the last thing I had was just a word tonight that we got approval of a burn grant from the state for about $24,000 and change. Officer Megas and Officer Mastrogiovanni put it together for some computer equipment and about 6 new portable breathalyzer machines. So thank you to them for doing that. It's about 24/7, somewhere around there and change. So another good job. But if there's no questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Mr. Carmignani, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. Quickly, you had your public hearing tonight to set the tax rates. That means we're probably 7 to 10 days away from getting the actual tax bills. We'll get those out. Like I said, we have some nervous Nellies who like to get it paid before the first of the year. Water sewer bills are due December 21st. All of the tax titles were advertised on 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. The takings were November 16th. We're going to have those recorded probably within the week. Need to thank Lori Smith, helping us with all of the compliance. We went through everything that was done in the June 2020 town meeting, has all of the source documents in to the tax title attorneys over at Lockboard LLP. So they're doing the compliance right now. When we borrow, we're going to be borrowing for the highway loader through the chapter funds. We're going to have the ambulance, and then we're going to hit a couple of the water projects as they come forth. Not going to be the SRF items. Quick reminder to you and the rest of the Board of Selectmen, we're going to be selling a note on December 17th. It's going to settle on New Year's Eve. Sometime December 21st, I'd like to be able to assemble all of the selectmen to get signatures. It can be one at a time, but this is something that we need to go through and get signed, probably at the town hall, depending on where we are with COVID. Last time, Selectman Johnson had asked about that, a time frame. Well, I know I have a sale on December 17th, and I should have all the paperwork. If not the 18th, the next day, it would be that Monday. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and again, I'll echo the board's comments. Everyone should be stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have the student representative.
Good evening. As we continue to work through these strange times, there's a lot going on at Shepherd Hill. Students continue to be in the building, and we are all continuing to do our part to ensure the safety and well-being of our community. Last week, the Superintendent, Stephen LaMarche, introduced a proposal to the school committee which would provide for more in-person learning. What was proposed on Wednesday was just a discussion, and there will be no change to the current model before Christmas break. However, I will share that the newly proposed plan would have all students in the building for in-person learning Monday to Friday for a half day. Then students will be able to grab their free meals to eat at home, which would be followed by remote classes in the afternoon on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, with an asynchronous afternoon on Wednesday. However, I am going to wait to provide more information on this plan until more discussion can be had amongst the school committee. Grades closed for the first quarter on November 13th, and report cards were available for students beginning this past Friday, November 20th. Many of our students did very well and have worked very hard despite the difficult circumstances. Our student athletes recently wrapped up their seasons. Though the season looked different and presented a lot of difficulties, our entire athletic program did a great job in helping to make the season run smoothly and safely. At the school committee meeting last Wednesday, Assistant Superintendent Brian Ackerman gave an update on the progress of the district's equity committee. He reported that conversations are already being had and webinars have taken place among our staff on how we can make our school a more inclusive environment. This update included 2 very important steps for our school specifically that we are taking to create more conversation and understanding of diversity within our school building. He announced that diversity library catalogs have been created, which include stories from Black, Brown, LGBTQ, and Latinx authors. Our students will have access to these catalogs and are encouraged to explore these stories. He also announced that Principal Chaplin will be forming a group of student leaders which will work to create more discussion and understanding among the students at Shepherd Hill. Similar to what has been seen across the country, last summer it became clear that we needed to have conversations about how we can make our school a more welcoming and diverse environment. The actions which are being taken by the Equity Committee are going to be extremely monumental in creating a more welcoming and understanding environment at Shepherd Hill. The actions which are going to be taken in the coming months show great promise in achieving this goal. As a student representative, I feel it is important that I keep the board and the community informed on the progress we are making towards a more inclusive school environment. So in the coming months, I will continue to discuss our progress in my reports. I want to personally applaud the district for taking these essential actions towards creating a more inclusive school environment. I think that it's extremely important that our school takes action to become a more welcoming and diverse environment. It is absolutely crucial that every student feels welcome when they come into Shepherd Hill, and I think the actions which have been taken and will be taken will be extremely beneficial, and it's up to all of us as a school community to do our part to make that a reality. With Thanksgiving coming up, this Wednesday will be a half day, and schools will be closed on Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving break. Thank you, and I wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much.
So, question for the student rep. How was your report card?
All A's.
Excellent. Wouldn't expect anything else. Got a chat for that, Mr. Johnson?
It's only a single data point.
Well, it depends how many classes he has.
I'm fairly certain he's probably packed.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to convene into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Subsection A, Subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares not to convene back in open session, and the close of executive will end our meeting for the tonight.
Second.
Motion and a second, roll call vote.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Jay Johnson, aye.
Paul Joseph, aye.
Gary Siganovich, aye, unanimous. Good night, everyone.
Tell them we're gonna call them back.